Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Quick and Slow Comedy Show, the only podcast that isn't afraid to make the right call. Joining us today on the podcast is Ryan Paterson for the second part of his little interview, where we finally get to the bottom of the Volkswagen scandal. But before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like comedy or the sound of my voice or either of those both things, then stop by the comic strip November 24th. If you go up to the ticket booth and you say, hey, Nick McQuik left tickets for me, they're going to give you free fucking tickets. And then you guys come in, see a comedy show, laugh your asses off, I'll be there. Remember, bring your laughter. And we're back. Volkswagen had, we're back and we're talking Volkswagen here on the Quick and Slow Volkswagen podcast. Volkswagen.
Is that the new Tesla?
Yeah, that's it. It's the
sponsor,
electric.
right?
Actually, I drove a full electric Volkswagen when I was in Vegas. They're incredible.
You said it in some weird Ashley accent.
Volkswagen. But they tricked a whole bunch of people on their emissions test for their diesel, and now breaking news from Ryan Paterson here. Also, their gasoline.
Some of them on the gas ones, yeah.
Yeah, and
But what I was trying to say is that I don't think they're getting enough credit for that technology that was able to trick all these government agencies. Like, that's impressive.
I'm wondering if they had to patent that.
Wait, so they were diesel, but they were saying they were...
No. So they were diesel, and then they had technology where when the government environmental agencies would be doing testing on the diesels, the software would kick in and then alter the emissions. So they'd be like, "Oh, these are actually really environmentally friendly," but the technology was able to detect when
it
they
was
were
being tested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Secret Nazi
Oh,
technology.
okay. Because I was going to say, I thought they just found like loopholes in the actual testing.
Oh,
that
no.
They just kind of slipped through.
They just figured out how to make their computer smarter than the testing computer and cheat it so that they...
Had an elite hacksaw.
It's so funny because for years, people have been buying them because it's like these are so good for the environment.
Yeah.
It's basically like if you had a vegan restaurant and everything you sold was meat, and you were like, "Doesn't it taste like meat, guys?"
Yeah.
and then, but instead of like buying a meal every day, they come in and they buy a meal and then they make payments on it for 8 years, so they're still paying for it, and they're like, "Why am I still paying for this? This isn't what I wanted."
Whoever invented that technology will probably get a job. I've always found, like, if you're a super good hacker and you hack into the FBI, they usually reward you by giving you a job on how to prevent. That's probably the only industry that works.
There was a whole Leonardo DiCaprio movie about that.
Where you're so good at doing something illegal, you get a job. I wish I could get jobs like that.
People that are as good at you as doing illegal things.
Yeah. You're getting jobs at, yeah,
that's the whole TV show Criminal Minds is based off of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Maybe we need to watch more Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
I've never seen an episode of that in my life. Yeah, they really they pulled the wool over a lot of people. Their stock is down there quite a bit.
Down, but their sales are up in the States.
Oh, that doesn't mean I can get a Volkswagen for cheap.
No, they still cost the same.
Yeah, you'd think you'd get maybe be able to get a deal or
nope.
That's like the closest thing I'd want to a not shitty car is a Jetta.
It's funny. One time,
a good car.
Yeah.
So my last
Golf.
diesel a while ago, like a year ago in Vancouver, I was driving it around, and as you know, like when the head gasket's kind of blown, you get like a puff of smoke in the back sometimes for fast starts. and I had my Alberta plates on the back of that, and some guy goes behind me, he's like, "Take her back to Alberta." And I'm like, that's regional racism.
I remember I looked at your Volkswagen in the parking lot of the Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
And like you popped the hood and I looked, I'm like, "Whoa, your head gasket's gone."
Yeah.
That was the first thing. Just the amount of oil that was coming out the side of the head gasket. I'm like, "Ooh, that could be bad." But that lasted you for how long afterwards?
Well, that one, I mean, with the blown head gas, it's still 60,000. And
That is
when you're
incredible.
touring, like if you're touring, I think diesel's for sure the way to go. It just you save so much money. You would know that yourself, but like you save a lot on gas.
A diesel, like the same amount of fluid put into the engine, you're going to put like per kilometer, you're going to use less fluid in a diesel. It's more efficient that way. It varies because sometimes diesel is astronomically more expensive or cheaper. But usually I find the only thing that I found that was a problem having a diesel was not every gas station has diesel.
Yeah.
And when you buy a diesel, you have to learn real quick where you can fill up and you can't fill up.
Yeah.
Because some of those long stretches from farm town to farm town, you're like, oh shit.
Because like when you're talking about diesel, that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, not everywhere has diesel. The
No.
co-op
Yeah.
on 131st does.
Yeah, that was one thing that it took me a while to figure out. Driving a diesel was like, where can I? So it's good to know that. But if you're touring for the first time, I mean, generally it's a good idea to have a full tank before you leave.
Oh yeah,
so-
yeah.
yeah.
I'm well accustomed at road tripping, so when I actually start to tour, I'm gonna have this fucking driving shit in the bag. It's the comedy that I'll suck at.
I remember one time me and another comic, we were doing shows in Brandon, driving from Edmonton, and we had rented
Brandon, Manitoba.
We'd rented a Yaris.
Yeah. Oh, a Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, and it was really funny because
I love your
I wasn't driving, and
Could
then,
you do the highway speed?
Yeah. But it gets better because we're driving, and then all of a sudden the other comic's like, I think that we're gonna run out of gas, and I was like, oh, you really? Because he picked me up, and I guess he had it for a day before, and so hadn't filled it up yet.
Oh no.
And so we ran out of gas in a Yaris, which is probably one of the most best cars in the world on gas. I'm guessing like those are probably really good on gas.
Yeah, you can go from here
They're
to
really
Brandon on a
fucking good.
thimble.
Yeah, they're super.
My sister has one. They're fucking excellent.
And so we're sitting on the side of the highway, and then a farmer came up to us, and in the back of a truck he had a bunch of jerry cans and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, you boys need help?" And we're like, "We're just waiting for a CAA. I ran out of gas." And he's like, "I got a bunch in the back," but the other comic didn't really hear that, and he's like, no, he's like, "We got it, like, just go," He's like, "Are you sure? Like, I got some gas, like, we'll get you on your way." And he's like, "No," like, and then it took like CA like 2 hours to come.
Oh.
I remember about an hour and a half, and I was like, we probably should have took that farmer's offer. And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, like he told us we could use gas." And he's like, "Is that what he was saying?" Like he didn't.
Oh.
You just thought he was
he was offering me a drink.
I would have punched that guy.
Oh, jeez. That's upsetting. Yaris, though.
Yeah. How
Ugh.
many times do Yaris just run out of gas?
Like, never. They can go forever.
Yeah.
It's like the Prius's little brother.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's rough. I've never ran out of gas, like, touring anywhere. I've ran out of gas in a city once.
I run
Yeah.
out of gas. I've run out of gas in the city only twice, actually.
Well, I had a
So
car
I just
that
don't want to fill up.
caught fire. And it still worked. It's just none of the panel worked, like speedometer, fuel gauge,
Yeah.
nothing worked. So I would just drive it, and when I felt like it needed gas, I'd put gas in.
Did the
Yeah.
odometer work? Like, were you able to kind of gauge? like, a
Nope,
bit? Oh,
nothing,
okay.
nothing on that instrument. So I just kind of guess how fast I'm going.
Yeah. I had a car where the speedometer didn't work either.
Yeah. So nothing worked. So and then one day I ran out of gas in the city, and I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah. I ran out of gas once, outside of Langley, and I remember it was about maybe like a 2-3K walk to the gas station with the jerry can, and I was like, "This is the ultimate walk of shame." Like when you're walking down the highway with a jerry can,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you screwed up,
Oh.
and no one wants to pick you up really either because you smell like gas or diesel, like whatever.
Yeah. Well, I've done shows with comics before where we're driving, and I'm like, "We should stop and get some gas." And they're like, "No, we'll go to the show, we'll get paid, and then we'll pick up some gas." I'm like, I am more than happy to buy gas because I do not want to get stuck on the highway out there because coyotes.
Yeah. Gas is one of the funny things when people we'll be fine. Like it's just one of those things that you shouldn't second guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially in winter. Oh,
Yeah.
winter in Alberta. Holy. When it is
yeah.
like when they say like exposed flesh will freeze in 10 minutes and you run out of gas, it's like now you're trapped in a car slowly freezing to death.
I've never run out of gas in the winter, and it's always been in the city. Thank God.
Yeah.
That's one of the pros I like, even when I'm back. 'Cause I spend a lot of time in the winter back in Alberta, but like
Get
when
that
you
corporate.
survive a cold day, like you just want to battle.
Yeah.
Like you
Exactly.
Especially a cold day where you have to like be outside for like at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you come in, you just survived like a natural disaster.
Well, my gym has a sauna, and I have to tell you, that is the best.
On a cold day?
Oh my God, yeah. Getting into a sauna is fucking... When it goes from minus 20 Celsius to like plus 80 Celsius,
Yeah.
you can keep that heat in you for so long. It's so nice.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you might have made the right choice in moving to BC because
Oh yeah, it was snowing when I went upstairs.
Oh yeah, it's snowing here. Wonderful.
For the first time, mostly.
It's really funny though because in Vancouver, if it's like +5 to 0, a large percentage of the population walks around it like huddled, like freezing, like this is horrible. Like this is, and so I think it should be mandatory that like people should have to like endure a prairie winter.
Fucking minus 35.
Because then you don't take it for granted.
Yeah, you get that dry winter where like every time you blink, it feels like sandpaper dragging across your eyes, and
the only downside though of moving to a warmer climate is that then when you come back to here, it's still cold. So it's almost kind of like
you climatize.
Yeah, if I would have never moved, then I'd be like, this isn't too bad. But then, so I mean, yeah, my advice is like maybe you just shouldn't move to nicer, like going to Hawaii and stuff. That's torture. You're seeing the other side and then you come back.
Yeah. If you're moving, don't come back. if you're packing your bags. Oh, it sucks though because corporate season in Alberta, there is so much work here.
Cash cow.
And
we're the country's cash cow.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is.
Might have gone down a bit with the oil prices.
Yeah,
yeah, a little bit, but it's still available.
Much other industry here.
Yeah, when I did, I was talking to comics from the States, like all over in the States there, and they don't have corporate. Like, there's nothing.
No, there's not much either in BC.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely not as much as here.
It seems so unique. I guess it's an Alberta thing that for like a company's Christmas party, they hire comics.
Yeah.
It's everywhere else. They just have like a couple drinks, a DJ, and then you go home.
Yeah, like even at the Sobeys Christmas party when I worked there before, like 5 years ago, they had comics like for a few years in a row. I don't remember who the fuck they were.
Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. It must be. Yeah, it must just be an Alberta thing, for sure.
Oh, we gotta take a break.
Uh-oh. He's at it.
What are we gonna do without a host?
So I'll just sit here.
Hey guys, I'm Nick.
You should try to convince Nick that you're Nick when he gets back.
I'm you.
And then do your best Nick impression.
Yeah.
Just talk about deadlifting.
Yeah. And then interview Jamie for the rest of the.
Like, dude, we've been going around the country setting up fight clubs. I'm you.
Oh, have you heard of Rumbler?
No.
Oh, it's Tinder for fights. Yeah.
What?
He told me about this, and I was like, "It's the apocalypse. It's here."
I am so on board for this.
Really?
You join it, and you meet with people, and then you just beat the shit out of each other in the alley. It's the best thing I've ever heard of in my life.
It's fucked up, man.
But I wonder if it's the same as when you go on Tinder, and then you go on Rumbler, and then you meet the person, you're like, "Oh, you're not like anything you looked in your picture."
I don't want to fight you.
You're such a scrawny piece of shit. This is no challenge for me.
Man, you could totally make that into a.
Or like, I'm out of here. You're a lot bigger. You're a lot bigger than you looked in your picture.
You said you were
totally
only 250.
Make that into a fucking bit.
Never meet
At
people where they
least
take
once
pictures
this
above the
Rumbler thing
shoulders.
catches
Never.
on.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, Rumbler.
Like I said, I'm so on
It's
board.
the beginning of the end. This is how Mad Max actually starts, you guys.
I've seen the actual first Mad Max movie. It's not
This is how it actually starts. That's fictionalization of the real thing.
But I'm guessing though,
It's gonna start with Rumbler.
You could still meet someone like if you patched it up before you met them, right? Like, so you go to fight them, and then can you fight? I'm guessing you can fight. Like, is it gender? Is it just for guys?
It's for anybody that wants to fight.
Because Ronda Rousey should
So
open
if Ronda Rousey is in town, you better get prepared to get your arm broke.
You're supposed to meet in like what they deem as a public place, so you can't meet for the fight in a back alley, but you can meet in the open, consult, and then go to a back alley to fight.
Oh, like make it
like have a weigh-in beforehand.
Yeah. You have to meet at like Starbucks to discuss your fight first.
So it's kind of like a date. It is like a date still.
Yeah, it's like a date, just as much punching and choking as your standardized date.
And I can verify that on your standard dates, there's a lot of choking.
Yeah.
That'd be really like you meet someone on Rumbler and you're like, dude, this site's so much better than Grindr. They're like, what are you talking about?
That would be funny.
Oh yeah,
Rumbler and the Bumbler.
Yeah. Instead of Netflix and chill, it's like Punch and Robert Munch. I don't know.
Try again.
I was like Robert Munch. That's like that one that my mom cries at all the time.
Oh no, it's not called Rumbler. It's called Rumble.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Wait, no. Yeah, it is Rumbler.
Yeah, like Tumblr.
I've never used those dating sites except for once when I made a fake profile on Plenty of Fish, and that was fun.
Plenty of
Was
Fish.
it another comic that you made the profile for?
No, I just took a random picture of like a.
That would have been so
Like
funny because then you could have set up dates
Yeah.
and then set the date to where he was performing, and he would not have known.
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
God. Nick, you've just ruined your own life.
This is gonna be awesome. What are you talking about? I'm building an audience that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I know how to improvise. It's just yes and your way through the date. Yeah, totally. And then what did I say?
Yeah. Yeah, Rumbler is a great idea to meet people and fight.
It's the fucking end of the world. It's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, there could be some other ones. What are
Maybe a
some
whole
other?
bunch of
Bro,
other-
your face is pissing me off. Want to throw down? Hell yeah, bro. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, that's so fun. This is so great.
Wow.
This is a chat tool.
What are some other good ones that we could do? Like some apps that we could make maybe for meeting up.
Meeting up to do specific activities?
Yeah, so you
You
have.
could like make
But it also has to end in
you can make like a Guy Fawkes sort of one where you meet up and you make explosives and blow up government buildings.
and call it, and then you would call it remember.
Yeah, remember.
Yeah. There you go.
Holy fuck.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that one.
Make one for funerals.
Remembler.
Maybe funeral meetup.
Funeral meetup, yeah. Yep.
For people that don't want to be at funerals and want
Yeah.
to just make sure that
Yeah,
their
you could
parents
have
don't
like
fuck
a,
after.
like a woman support group for funerals, like Grief and Queef or something.
Because that's
You
what I
could
spend
have-
all my time at funerals doing. Every time I'm at a funeral, it's like I find it hard to hold in my queefs.
Yeah, you get those grief queefs. Yeah, I know. That's what it's about.
I've never been to one.
You've never been to a funeral or
Oh,
a
I thought you meant
funeral
a
where
queef.
everyone queefs?
I've been to many of those.
I've never been to a queef. Never been to the good old Thanksgiving queef. You never been to a funeral?
No.
Oh man, I've been at
Queefmas.
like 3 last month.
Really?
I know so many people that die.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been
I have
to
a lot
one.
of great aunts and uncles. that
Ah,
I've
they
been to
weren't that
funerals
great.
of. You know,
They're
dead.
mediocre. They don't have their own Wikipedia page.
Dead.
I still think one of the. I don't know if they do it anymore, but the final procession to the funeral site when they're allowed to go through red lights. You know, when
Oh,
you have
yeah,
your
yeah.
hazards on, and then everyone's going through red lights. But for me, I'm always like, the one time when you have the go ahead to break every single traffic law is when you're dead.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to have one last drive like that, like just frail and 100 years
when you're
old,
like 100.
and
If
all
you
your
make
family and
100
everyone's
or
behind you,
whatever.
supportive. Like, keep on going through the red lights, Granddad.
Yeah. It's like
Doesn't
sort of
even-
driver assisted suicide at that point.
Doesn't even have enough strength to press the pedals.
If I ever found myself terminal, I'd definitely go on a rampage like that.
Yeah.
I'd be
There's
like,
one,
fuck it.
There was one time when I saw that happening, and then it was an Oriental funeral,
Oh yeah.
and
Is that where they get the dragon parade thing?
well, I don't- but I saw, so they were going, so it was a procession going through red lights, and I saw just this young girl, and the light was green, and she was probably texting, and she almost like ran into them, and then slammed on the brakes, and then I saw her look at the first person, and you could just see it melting. She was like, "Stupid age," she's like, "Stupid age," like thinking that they were. But then every single person was Asian, and you could just see her look in her eyes. She's like, "Oh my god!" Like there's 20 of them going through a red light.
Oh my god,
Like, she
there's
was-
a gang.
Yeah.
There's a-
I was like, it was pretty funny
oh man.
because she didn't see the hearse. So
Fuck.
she was mad too, honking her horn and like,
Oh, don't honk at funerals.
no,
Yeah. That's rough.
yeah, that's
I
not
I got a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap up.
sure.
How did you know when to move from when you became a big fish in a small pond? How did you know when to make the move?
I think it just it just kind of happens. Like for me, you want to try something new, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to try and challenge yourself, and and go to. Someone once told me, I think it was like, if you're moving to a new city, like many years, and then you don't try and push over 5,
Yeah.
and then you move again. Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good. That's enough to like lay down some groundwork and
yeah,
meet some
lay down
friends and
groundwork and just because it's. I mean, just like anything, I think it's good to be taken out of your comfort zone for sure.
stuff. Yeah. Definitely. Another question. Earlier on, we were talking about hosting and stuff. What do you think that you have that makes it stand out that you're actually such a good host? What sort of do you do differently when you're hosting?
Like as opposed to just doing a set?
Yeah.
Well, I've always enjoyed talking to the crowd, and I think it's a fine balance between being like malicious and then also just like being nice. Well, you've seen me host. Like I'm never actually mean to the crowd unless there's a heckler.
I'd say at most you're like catty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what you're wearing now. What kind of
preppy bitch.
Such a Samantha.
No, you didn't.
How do you know my sister?
Atticus told me.
I think when you're hosting, it's about number one, of course, it's about not making the show about you.
Yeah.
It's making the show about the show, and just trying to keep it fluid and positive. Yeah, sometimes you see hosts and they're just like how's it like,
yeah.
and it's weird when people, because I know a lot of comics too that just they really despise hosting, but they still take it. I guess maybe just need money or whatever.
Money.
But like,
Yeah. But some people just phone it in so hard they're getting long distance charges.
yeah.
Some people give it, yeah.
And then I
Leaving
think
that in.
also
That's
yeah.
That's making final cut.
I get to see a lot of shows. I get to see a lot of.
Trying to. I think also too the nice thing about if you are like when you're talking to crowds is that it's making every show different, and then because I like joking around with the crowds, and so you're making every show different, which also makes it a little more genuine, which makes it more funny.
Yeah.
Right? If you're coming up with things off the top of your head.
Yeah, being kind of spontaneous.
Yeah.
Riffing.
That impresses them.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, look at this. Whose line is it anyway, clever guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the top hosts, yeah, they're friendly and talk to the crowd. And like, there's, of course, like, yeah, there's good hosts in every city. And
Yeah.
Edmonton's.
Like, there's a few, I have a couple favorites here.
I see too many hosts that go up there. They go, "Hello, I'm your host. This is your show," and then they just go right into their material. And I'm like, "Oh, you're not doing it."
Yeah. Usually, I mean, like a good formula is if you go up there and you tell a couple of jokes to show them that you are funny, and then you go into crowd work.
Yeah.
That's a good way also, because sometimes it can catch them off guard. It's like, blah, blah, here's a show. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. It's good to have like kind of an opener. I like, it's almost like you got to get that one initial crack up.
Yeah.
So that they're like, oh yeah, it's a comedy show. That's what I paid for.
Yeah.
So that they remember where they are. But
Well, and plus too, you almost want to, because a lot of times they actually really just think that you're the host and not a comic. There's a misconception quite a bit that
before I started
I'm fine
comedy, I
with
thought
that,
of that too.
I'm fine with that.
and then half the time also too, the host will say, all right, you guys ready for your first comedian? But you were the first comedian. So it's like, like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just starting to like host a little bit more, and it's like I'm still pretty petrified when I'm up there, but I'm just like I'm fucking soaking all this shit in right now. I forgot what I was gonna say.
We're leaving that into. I love hosting because you go up and there's no energy to ride off of.
Yeah.
There's like nothing. It's like give it up for your host.
It's
they clap a bit.
hyperbullet.
You go in, and it's like, here we go. This is me. We're going from a neutral. There's nothing. I don't have to follow high energy. I don't have to follow low energy. I don't have to follow anything. I just go up there. I introduce you to the show, and this is who I am. I love that. I like it even more when I'm doing like a shitty room or something where I just walk up and grab the mic, where there's no introduction.
Yeah.
Nobody claps. I just walk up, grab the mic, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing comedy.
Yeah.
So that to me it's the cold start kind of.
Oh yeah, it's completely different. Like when you're closing a show, I've always found they give you like a 5 to 10 minute buffer.
Yeah.
Like even if things are going rough off the top, they're still like, well, this is the last guy. He's got to be good.
Yeah. They definitely have the different expectations for it.
Yeah, yeah. And hosting also too, it's like, especially if they're drunk, which can happen in Alberta sometimes with some drunk crowds.
Sometimes.
No.
Is that, I mean, yeah, just dealing with hecklers too. Sometimes, I mean, the best way I found if they're really rowdy is making an example of the first one.
Yeah.
Also,
You
'cause
got to
then it's
turn
kind of-
everyone against them, not against you.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah. And the comic strip was also a great way to like learn how to host because there's some rowdy nights
Oh yeah.
there,
have been.
like Friday late show, Saturday late show.
Yeah, there have been some people like yelling at the comics and people fucking throwing stuff on the stage. There's been some fucking nightmare shows. And like a lot of comics would go like, oh, well, you have doormen there. It's like, no, we have two 18-year-old people who have to be up in the morning for whatever class they're going for. It's like, these are not doormen. They will come over and shush you, but they are terrified.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not going to like jump in and tackle a rig pig.
There are a
No.
whole bunch of just young, sprightly dudes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They're not getting paid enough.
Yeah, they're
To
not.
go-
We don't
not
have
enough
bouncers.
to risk their lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have bouncers.
That's
so.
what Rumbler's for.
Yeah, exactly. You go on Rumbler and you take a photo of the heckler, and then you post
Like,
that they want to
meet
fight.
me at the
everyone.
comic strip.
Yeah, meet me at the comic strip. Just punch me in the back of the head when you're here.
I'll know it's you.
Yeah. Oh man, the pranks with social media. But for you, hosting and doing comedy and everything, you like we talked about this before, but this was off air. How do you kind of map out your jokes and where they go? How do you do like the process of your jokes? Because it's actually pretty unique.
Like the process. What do you mean?
You showed me the app on your phone you use.
Oh yeah, I like to use. I do mind mapping sometimes for jokes. If it's just like I'm more of a visual person, so
I do a really similar thing when I'm coming up with design concepts and stuff like that. I just like start and then just do like little like lines and write things and then offshoot until the page is just lines with concepts connecting other concepts. I'm like, oh, I should do that for jokes.
I've tried to get rid of all paper because it just got out of control. Where I'd have like 50 notebooks with random set lists.
Yeah, you look like a conspiracy theorist.
yeah.
And when people see a set list and they open it up and it's like Mr. Potato
Yeah,
Head
yeah.
high school rape car
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
fire,
but
they're
you-
like, what is this? So when they see a set list, it looks like a madman's gibbering. But so you've gone entirely paperless. You have an
I
app on
try
your
to,
phone.
yeah.
And with this app, you look at it and you have like a core concept and it shoots off into all these different jokes
Yeah.
that you've written. And it's actually a really cool, it is a very visual way, but it's a really cool way to like organize your thoughts and
Oh
like,
yeah,
show where it all goes. So
it makes it easier for writing also. But everyone has different styles of writing. Some people just go like straight off stories. Some people start off with punchlines. But yeah, when it goes when you're hosting too, a nice way. I mean, and everyone does it if you're talking to the crowd. You can segue into jokes that you already have half the time.
See, yeah, I feel like I need to write more jokes ahead of time that like lend themselves to crowd work,
yeah.
and that will probably help me get better at that.
And that's why I think also too, like recording all your sets, because there's lots of times where I've been hosting and then I've been talking to the crowd and then just spontaneously I've said, a funny rebuttal. And
Yeah.
then it's actually a joke that I'll keep in my set.
And yeah, if you're not recording it, you lose that.
You forget
Oh,
it. Yeah,
see.
there's lots of
Yeah.
times where
I always remember
So-
those and write them down right after.
So
Like
it's
they laughed at me.
definitely recording my sets has helped me so much because I've gotten rid of a lot of my ums, ahs, and my pauses. And I found the parts in jokes and stories where the pause was and the
Yeah.
pause wasn't helping. I wrote a joke to go there to fill that pause. So, and because I just written it and it was so fresh in my mind, when I hit that, it came out very naturally and quick. So
yeah.
it's really good to like kind of review your technique, sort of.
It's instant feedback.
Yes, it is instant feedback. And I edit the podcast and I listen to every set I perform and I hear my voice a lot and I don't know how the fuck the listeners can handle this. I don't know what they do to deal with this bullshit, but I am sick and tired of listening to my goddamn
The
voice.
amount of uhs that he edits out of here.
So many.
I wonder if
I like and he uhs.
I wonder if like identical twins hate hearing their other half talk.
Yeah, probably.
Because you hate hearing your own voice.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up. I hate hearing my own voice.
Oh my god, I hate it so much. It makes me have anxiety.
But yeah, I mean, it does
So
suck.
it's so hard for me to like. Initially, I recorded everything and I wouldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
But then I got to a point where I recorded everything, and now I go home and I write the set I did, who was on the show, the date, the time, the place, everything,
See, I always
what
do
the jokes
that.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I save that, and I've got my journal of every show I've done, and then I play back the recording because I've got this on right now, which is the thing I use to record. It's a
Fancy
Bluetooth
headset.
neck piece thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I play it back and listen to it, and then I type out the jokes I did.
Yeah.
And then I listen to it again, and then I type out the bad parts.
Yeah.
and then I just work on that for a while. So usually, even if I'm doing like a 5-minute spot,
systematic.
I have like an hour and a half of writing at home that I do about that set.
Oh yeah.
Before like I even consider the time like per day of me writing jokes or coming up with stuff like that. I have an hour and a half of sitting there writing about what I did.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, it adds up too. Like I mean, it adds like after this week because I haven't had much time to review sets, but I'll have hours and hours on days off now.
yeah.
So even when you can't write, you can still review sets.
Yeah.
And half the time something pops into your head.
Yeah. Well, I always say stand-up comedy, you're both a painter and a canvas because you're a performer and a writer.
Yeah.
But you work on your performance on stage. You have to, and there's things you can think about or realize, like where you're standing, how your hands are, like what your stage presence, and you can work on that aspect of it. But when you're off stage, it's really hard to improve on that. So I thought to myself, how can I improve here? What can I do? And it was like, record yourself, write, listen to yourself, think about what people are seeing, think about what they're hearing. If there's a word that you're not saying properly or that you have a hard time like enunciating, is there a different word you can say, like instead of blanket sleeping bag or something? Like if there's something that doesn't click, where can you go with it? Is there a joke that you can write to fill or a joke you can write to segue? And like just taking two subjects and trying to write as many jokes in between the two to connect them so that I have many segues to get from one story to another.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's helped a lot.
Segues are great for me because then they, especially in longer sets, because then they will remind me what the next joke is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I find that what I do to help me is I will just write out my sets, like just try to remember. It's like, okay, where do I start and where do I end? And then I'll just basically just write it out like I'm writing a blog or something. And then I'll end up coming with new ways to connect things. And also usually my brain will come up with extra tags and shit. Hopefully. Not always.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, and also another thing too is when I'm on stage, I don't like getting stuck in a set list.
Yeah.
Because I find then if I'm like bombing, I'm stuck in this downward spiral. Like you're stuck into a set list. I like to go up there and have ideas of where I can go, kind of play a bit with the audience, kind of freewheel it and riff a bit, and then see where they would want it to go.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's important to kind of have a feeling for the audience and have enough versatility in your set to accommodate them.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my problem is I can feel the audience except for my set's not versatile enough. I have to work on my versatility.
And then you have high-end headliners who, like, their sets are so good that it doesn't matter
It doesn't
at that
fucking
point.
matter,
Yeah.
Like, they're just so, even no matter what they're talking about, even if it's really dark, it's like a
Michael
corporate crowd.
McDonald, like
Yeah.
Like,
He's
Jesus
a-
Christ, like, I'm bipolar, fuck everything, like, I was dying, my wife was sad, and, like, everyone was just, like, losing their shit the
Oh,
entire
is this
time.
Canadian Mike McDonald?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I worked with a guy from
the Mad TV
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the Canadian one. But he, like, his set was so heavy.
Yeah.
But, like, and it was, like, feminist and, like...
Well, like, there's ways to broach it. Anthony Jeselnik just had a special come out, and he does a lot of kind of dirty or dark material.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, he's constantly saying, like, so in this joke, or hey, this joke, he's constantly reminding them of
Oh,
the fact
yeah.
that it's a joke
He's gotta
right,
realize he has
right
to.
before it gets to, like,
Yeah,
a dark
yeah.
or dirty thing. So, like, I was told early on that, like, Nick, you're never going to get anywhere with dark or dirty material. And you can. It's just you have to learn how to deliver it.
Yeah.
And I think by starting out and sticking to my guns with that before I even wrote any of this fluffy, happy stuff, sticking with a lot of dark and dirty thing, it taught me different ways to broach subjects, different
Yeah.
ways to approach materials. Because I was, for probably the first year of my comedy, I was just spinning my wheels, doing nothing, getting nowhere, getting like minimal laughs. And it took a lot of like just smashing my hands against the keyboard trying to figure out what was what before I could figure out how to make people laugh with dark and dirty stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, hey, cool, I can write anything now and hopefully
Yeah.
get around it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Being dirty, like
just
Doug Stanhope
dark.
quality is hot, like it's just
Yeah.
elite. Like he's
Yeah.
really good at what he does.
Yeah.
And then also too being really clean that's
It's fucking
very
hard.
hard. Like say like a Brian Regan or
Yeah.
like someone
To be clean and clever and
Yeah.
have people that are like, oh, clean comedy, like, still be into it because it's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
Yeah. It's a hard sell. And a lot of that is it's good like to write material that covers kind of both.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of feel out your audience to see where it's going. And I've had people say like, oh, well, that sounds like insincere. It sounds like you're not staying true to yourself. And it's like, I like dirty comics and I like clean comics. I like funny things.
You like everything.
And like I have a sense of humor, so I'm just going to write what I think is funny to me. Sometimes it's going to be real dirty. Sometimes it's not.
On some days, you just have an idea that is cleaner than some other
Yeah,
ideas that you write
exactly.
down.
My jokes are either stupid or dark as fuck. And it's like there's two sides to it, and I just have to learn how to make people hear it
Yeah.
and see it as funny in the same way that I do.
Exactly. A horse in the bush is not to be looked in the mouth unless
Two
you
birds
teach a man how to
teaching
fish.
a man to fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, either comes down to it's so well written and funny that they just have to laugh at it, or else they already like you so much.
Yeah.
That
There are some comics that can win it on charisma alone.
Of course, yeah.
They like I've met some comics that you on stage you're so charismatic you don't even need to be funny.
Oh yeah.
Like you can just
about Hoos?
Yeah, I am. But they're so charismatic that
I mean,
they
he is funny, but
they don't need the humor. And like I can look at what they're saying and just imagine another comic saying it, or I can go to the Druid and hear that comic say it, and then I'll be like, wow, okay, it's got to be the delivery, or it's got to be that certain person telling it. And from watching those comics on how they performed, I learned how to be a better performer. I learned that like one thing when broaching really dark or really dirty things, it's important to smile so that people don't think you're a serial killer.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about something like really dark and twisted and you are like deadpan face, they're like, okay, this guy could kill us all.
or smiling without your eyes.
Yeah, smiling without your
Or
eyes.
like crying.
Yeah.
It's a really sad story to
So,
tell.
I mean, the like, there's a lot to learn from watching comedy too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
a good
watching
thing.
and almost watching, like, you get so much more to watching live comedy, I think, as opposed to specials. I mean, if you're watching the big guns do those specials, like, of course, that's
You're gonna learn from taking in new information wherever it is.
But lots of the Canadian comedians that aren't famous are almost just as good.
well,
or just
like
as good.
Carrie,
Yeah.
for example, like he slays like every time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that it's so beneficial. Like, that's one thing about working at Yucks that's so great is I get to watch like 4 shows of like basically the same thing. And I mean, it's my job to sit and watch them.
Yeah.
And I get to see the audiences and see how everyone's doing it. And so it's not like practical training, but it's like comedy university. It's like you're sitting there and you're studying.
There was one time that I learned a lot from this one time where I had set up my camera on the tripod, but something happened where it was just facing the crowd and not me for my entire set.
Yeah.
And that was interesting, watching myself with the audio and just seeing the crowd. So that was neat, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I when I record it, because I'm recording it with a speaker that's directed towards my throat.
Yeah.
And it's designed for like motorbike helmets and stuff, so it doesn't pick up on any background audio.
Oh, nice.
So I very seldomly can hear much like laughter.
Only when
applause.
it's like
But
uproarious.
Yeah.
it's funny because when I watch the same thing as I've recorded it on a camera and the camera's behind the audience, like there's so much laughter and it's so loud. And then I listen to it on this and it's like, wow, I sound like I'm doing terrible. But then I watch the tape and I'm like, no, I was doing great. So it's actually it's really good for preventing hubris, for like keeping kind of a bit of humility. It's like now every set I listen to, it's like all the applause has been edited out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting to hear me do comedy and then I'm just pausing. And like you can hear like in the background, like some skin hitting
Faint.
skin in the background. I'm like, geez, what the fuck am I pausing for?
Yeah. I must have been nervous.
Yeah. When you started out in comedy, was there any mistakes that you made early on that it took you a long time to catch?
Let's see. Mistakes. I mean, probably like being like maybe not prepared for sets in the beginning, like not knowing exactly what you're gonna do, or I'm trying to think here. Maybe just like unnecessarily, like in the beginning, if you're nervous, unnecessarily swearing too much, where you just don't need to. But sometimes when people are nervous, that's just what you do.
Just cutting out your nervous behavior
Yeah.
bit by bit.
I noticed a lot of people, when they start bombing or they don't get their reaction, they either start swearing or they'll start like they'll have all of these filler words, I call them, that come up. And I noticed that with myself too, is I've got a whole bunch of those. So I now, and I'm doing it now, I slow down what I'm saying while I'm thinking about the words.
Yeah.
Just kind of take a breath and avoid
Because that's a big thing that I do when I start tail spinning. I start talking faster, but I'm forgetting what I'm saying at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I'm like spinning, but stalling at the same time. And it's just like, fuck.
It's good to just take a breath, slow down, get your bearings.
Oh, yeah.
And then come at them.
The scientific reason is because your brain thinks at the speed of light, but your mouth can only move at the speed of mouth.
Oh. Is that not fast?
It's not as fast.
It's not the speed of sound?
Oh, okay.
No.
It's not a U2 album?
It's not that fast.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so really what you're doing there is you're allowing your mouth to catch up with your brain.
Yeah.
And that's it's a common public speaking technique.
Yeah, most of the time I'm always on the next joke in my head.
Yeah.
Like the one I'm saying, yes.
It's hard because I'm constantly thinking, where are you looking? Where are you standing? Where are your hands? What are you doing? What are you saying? Who are you talking to? Do you remember the names when you introduced? And it's like, what's the next person coming up? What joke are you on? What's the next? There's so many things going on. It's like, when people see comedy, we make it look easy. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a perfect storm for me to actually go up there and be actually present on stage instead of thinking about everything. Like, stand up straight. What are you going to say next? Like, that guy's talking over there. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. And when you get a heckler, it can just derail it all.
Yeah.
So I've had people think that they're helping. They're not.
Oh yeah, most of the time they do.
This weekend, Nikki Payne, she would engage the audience quite a bit, and she'd have a couple people that she would go to, and just like go back to them throughout the show. And one of the times, it was a table full of newfies that just really wanted to talk to her real bad, and they kept like unnecessarily yelling out, and she would just make fun of them so bad, just being like, this is not going how you thought it would you? You thought you were helping me out, and you expected everyone to just lift you up over their shoulders and just cheer and just be like, yeah, he's the best. And then they'd put you up on stage, and I'd be like, you're coming on tour with me.
Oh yeah, a lot of it.
My favorite one that she did was she was talking to one of the guys in the front, and she's like, "So Ryan, do you have any like brothers or sisters?" And he's like, "Oh, I have this one brother, but we don't talk about him." And she's like, "So he's the embarrassing one?"
That was a good one.
Yeah, I saw Harlan Williams maybe he had one of the best like responses to a heckler. This was at the Calgary Club Laugh Shop, and it just was an oil worker, and I think it was like a Thursday that Harlan was there, and then Harlan was talking to the guy, and the guy was just really vicious, and he's like, you're a loser, man. Like, you're in Calgary on a Thursday night. He's like, I make $200,000. Like, I made $200,000 last night. Like, he just was bragging about like oil money, how much he made, and Harlan's like, he's like, fair enough. And then Harlan goes in like word for word to that scene from Dumb and Dumber where he drank the piss. He's like, "You boys been drinking tonight?" And like takes a beer bottle and does like the entire line, and then it finishes, and then that finishes to an applause break, and then he goes, "I got paid $1 million for that," and then the crowd just went absolutely nuts because this guy's like,
"Yeah."
Wait, are you saying that he wrote Dumb and Dumber?
He wrote it.
Fuck,
No.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
He was in it.
Yeah, I don't think he probably improvised that line, but
Yeah.
That's awesome. Fucking hecklers.
Yeah.
So, where can our listeners, if they enjoyed your work, they find you on social media?
yeah, just on Facebook for now. I got rid of Twitter
What,
a
you
while
got rid
ago.
of Twitter?
I'll be bringing it back. It just was annoying me for a while.
What? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to direct your focus by removing things from your
Yeah.
focus.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, but like I'll like sometimes I'll get upset with Twitter, so I'll just leave it alone for a little while.
Well, I left it alone for a long time.
And then it just becomes something that exists that takes up unnecessary space in here. I'm pointing at
Oh.
my head.
But so
But it is But still, yeah.
You have a website where your dates are up or anything? Or?
Just Facebook usually, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Ryan Paterson, standard spelling?
Yeah, I have a website, and they can just email me and tell them where I am. But yeah, just like basically on Facebook. I think I'm doing a couple local shows at like the end of November. Doing the Monday Night Room with
Woody's?
Not Woody's. It's Tuesday night.
Dockside?
Yes. Yeah.
Dockside with Will Hannigan.
Yeah, on the 24th, I believe, or whatever. I think that's the day.
Yeah.
And then
24th
possibly Woody's on the Monday, because I have a couple off nights here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of coming through this area, so.
Sweet.
And then yeah, we'll see if that TV show gets picked up or not. Then we'll see. So.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully it gets picked up for a second season.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. Okay, well, and it sucks we can't really promote because this won't go up for a while, but we can't really promote the weekend right now at the Strip. But,
yeah.
You have 12 sold out shows. So.
They were all sold out anyways.
Yeah,
yeah.
well, what do you don't even need promotion there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you'll be back here in November, end of November.
Yeah, back here at the end of November, and then, yeah, and hopefully, yeah, like for sure in the new year at Yuck Yucks at the Strip. So,
Definitely.
yeah, I think Yuck Yucks will be the new year for sure. And such. Yeah.
Are you doing the New Year's show?
No.
Oh, okay.
We don't even know who's doing the New Year's show yet.
What?
I'm fucking telling.
Get it together.
Yeah.
It's not my job.
Get it together.
Tell fucking Jessica.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Good point. Yeah, that sucks. I'd love to swing by and do Dockside with you, but I'm hosting at the Strip that day.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunate. That's how it always works.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, as always, our music is done by Ben Sound, audio touch-ups and engineering done by Triptych Winter. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. We had a wonderful time making it. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. If you could go to our Facebook page and hit like on that, or Twitter and follow us or some such, it actually kind of helps out. Or if you're on iTunes, like, favorite, subscribe, rate, review, I don't know, do something. Just do things, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, knock, knock, guys.
That's a normal thing.